Okay, everybody. So what we're going to be looking at today is going to be Lab 2. So on the course homepage for Canvas, you'll find the week 3 assignments and you'll see Lab 2 in there. Or if you click modules, you'll see Lab 2 in the week 3 modules. You'll also see a Lab 2B, but it's not there now. It'll be there in soon. Let's just jump in. So you click on that link wherever you find it. And these are the instructions. I'll view it as a student just because. Okay. So what we're trying to learn how to do here is just get a little bit of practice typing math formulas. And what I want to point out to you that you don't have to know a lot of math in order to do this. What you have to know is how to type the math, right? So um, our first problem here, we're going to be finding the area of a circle, right? And there's a formula for the area of a circle, and it's given right here. The area, A, is equal to pi times the radius squared, or r squared. Uh, all we need to know is how to type this in Java, right? We're not trying to figure out areas of circles, right? We don't need to like come up with that ourselves. We just need to be able to type this, right? And a lot of programming is like that, where you're not the one who has decided what formula you're going to be programming. You're just the one that has to type it in, okay? And what this problem is going to look like, or what we're going to output here, is this. So we're going to say, enter the radius of a circle. We're going to say that so that the user knows what to do. The user will type in a number like 3.0, and then we're going to print out a little statement like this. For a circle with radius 3, the area is 28.27, although there'll probably be more decimal places here if we don't do anything to restrict it. So this is basically what it should look like. And after we get that working, we're going to do another one, which is going to be a volume of a sphere. And when we do the volume of a sphere, it's going to be the same idea. It's just we have a slightly different formula to type in. Okay. Also, the variable names will be different because this is a volume, not an area. But the basic idea will be the same for both of them. Okay. And so if we just follow the instructions here, it does say to get two separate Java files started. We could do that, but I mean, we don't strictly need to. Let's open Eclipse. I already have it open. And let's get going. Now, it says here to call them like Lab 2A and Lab 2B. I know that's what it says. I'm not going to do that. And the reason I'm not going to do that is because I already know that I accidentally named the next lab Lab 2B, and it'll be slightly confusing. So I'm just going to call them like here, like Lab. Well, you'll see. So if I make a project, I go to in Eclipse, File, New, Java Project. I can call it whatever I want. I'm going to call it Lab 2, and then I'm going to do underscore, and I'm going to write part 1. Part 1 instead of A. Remember to uncheck the create module info.java file box. There we go. Now we don't have to do it now, but I'm just going to go ahead and create the other project because we do need to. Um, well, we don't need to, but I'm going to do it in two. File new Java project, and I'm going to name it the same way, except I'll name it Lab 2 Part 2. So I just have these two blank projects in here. I'll close what I have open. And on Lab 2 Part 1, I will expand it with the little expandy thing to the left. I will click on SRC. I will right click and do new class. Also, you could click on SRC and then do file new class, and it's the same menu, and you'll get a class that way. Once we have the new class window up, we just need to give it a name. Again, we just have to follow the rules here. So I'm going to name it lab2 underscore part 1. It doesn't have to be the same name as the project, but it can be, so I am. I'm going to click the box for public static void main string args and click finish, right? So at this point, you've done this a number of times, and what we get is just a blank project here, right? So let's go back to the lab and see what we're supposed to do. So it says create two separate Java files. I just did that. Add your name, date, and the assignment at the top of each one. So I'm just going to copy this. This is just a comment. It doesn't do anything, but we can read it in there. Of course, you should change yours to your name. Date's wrong, so let's fix the date. And I'm just going to have it still say Lab 2A, whatever. Um, circle area, that's fine. Okay, so that part's done. What's next? I'm going to skip the other one until I do it, till I do the other problem. So it says set up the program to read user input. Import the scanner library at the top. So I need to type this, or in my case, I'm lazy, so I will copy paste it. It goes above your class. So above where you have public class lab 1 part 1, right? Initialize the scanner in the main method. So I need this code. And that goes in the main method, which means it has to go here, right? Right? So you need to pay attention to what is inside of what. So inside of the class, you have what we call the main method. And inside the main method, we put our code. And so that's where that goes. A lot of mistakes people make do involve putting these things on the wrong place in the code. Also, just something I'll mention because I've had a number of people ask me about it in the face-to-face class. If you highlight over the side here, you'll see it says the value, well, right now it says the value of local variable SCNR is not used. And then the other thing it says is resource leak, SCNR is never closed. That will stay there. The SCNR is never closed just because I probably won't close it. But I may remember at the end of this to fix that just to show you. The fix would be this actually. So SCNR dot close. Now the reason I usually don't do this is because it's going to close anyway when your program ends. So there's no point in doing it yourself. And also, Zybooks just never does it at all in their code. So you're not going to see it in the Zybooks code. But that line will make this little error happy. All right, let's look at the problem. Area of a circle. Ask the user to input the radius and read it as a double. All right. Now, the way I like to do things is I like to declare my variables first. So I know for this one that I need a radius, which I'll call radius. And I know that I'm going to need an area, and I'll call it area. Now, you could use A and R, but I'm using words because that's what we've learned is better. Now, ask the user to input the radius and read it as a double. So you have to tell the user what to do. So to output some text, we use system.out print or print line. And I will say, enter the radius. And that's probably good enough. I usually put colon and a space. And that's it. So I did that. I told the user to enter the radius. The second step would be to actually read the radius from the user. So that would involve radius equals, and I'm going to assign radius with an input. So to get input, I'm going to need my scanner. My scanner is named SCNR. So SCNR dot, and to read a double, it's next capital D double. Integers, if you remember, was SCNR dot next INT, capital I. But we're reading a double because these are decimal values. Those are appropriate for like measurements such as the radius of a circle. Now I can run my code now. I'll click run. It will offer to save it. I can click OK. And now my code will say, or my program will say, enter the radius. I can click down here in this box. I have a flashing cursor. I could type whatever I want. So I could say like 7.78 and then hit enter. And now my program has ended because this is all I've done so far. But the point is, when I type 7.78, that value is going to be stored in the variable radius. Okay, because SCNR next double is the thing that reads the 7.78. And after it reads it, it's going to be stored in the variable you have on the left side of the equal sign. So there we go. I've got the radius. Now what? So the next thing it says is calculate the area using the formula. So the area is pi r squared. All right. Now, in order to do this, you have to think about how to type that in, right? I'm going to copy this, but this is wrong, right? This is not how you type it. This is not how you type it in Java, pi r squared like this. That's not valid Java code. The actual valid Java code would be something like area equals. And in order to get pi, and you should have learned this in the lecture from this week, in order to get pi, you have to do capital M math dot capital P capital I. That's how you get the pi variable. Not variable, but constant. And then you want to do the radius squared. There's two ways to do that. So one way to get the radius squared would be use the power function, which is capital M math dot pow. And then the radius squared would be radius and then 2.0. It auto filled in radius and area there, but those were not correct. So this would be the formula. Math pi is pi, and then radius square is math.pow radius 2, right? Radius to the second power. That's one way to do this. Also, do not forget the time symbol between them. All right. Now, another way to do this, so this will work. I'm going to erase the math.pow here. If I were writing this code for myself, in order to do radius squared, I'd probably too lazy to type math.pow. I would probably just type radius times radius, right? Isn't that the same? Radius times radius is radius squared. So this is how I would do it, actually. And so I did. So what did we do? We kind of declared variables here. Declare variables. After we declare variables, we read the radius. After we read the radius, we calculate the area. After we calculate the area, what? Print the results to the console in the following format. So this much is already done for us. We really just need to print out the area. I'll do that now, and then maybe we'll do something else. So print results. And I'll do a system dot out dot, I'll do a print line, and I will say the area is space, and then I'll do plus an area, and that should print the area. Now, this is kind of the minimum you have to do. If I do run into the radius, I'll put 3, and it says the area is 28.27, blah, blah, blah. Now, that decimal goes on forever. That's not quite how this looks, but I'm not going to worry about making it 2 decimal places at this moment. Now, this extra line here for a circle with radius 3.0, you don't really have to print that because that same information really is right here on the line above it, right? So do you really need to say it again? I don't think so. Yeah, I did write it here, but I don't think it's necessary. If you wanted to, it would just be pretty much the same type of command. You would just say, what did we say? For a circle with radius. So you could say for a circle with radius, and then you would need to change the variable here to radius to print out the radius. Now it'll look more like my example. So if I said 3, I get for a circle with radius 3.0, the area is 28.27. And we're good. So that's what we would need to turn in. We also need to screenshot this though. So In order to screenshot this, it depends on your type of computer. So if you need help, you can come to office hours or you can just Google, how do you screenshot in Mac OS? Um, I don't remember the key on Windows off the top of my head. There is some kind of like Windows Shift S or something in Windows. Here, I think it's like Shift Command 4, and then I can drag a box around and save a screenshot that way. Uh, all right. Now I still have to do the other one. So I'm going to go into my other lab, lab 2, part 2, and I'll right click on SRC, do a new class. I will name it lab 2 underscore part 2. It doesn't really matter if I check this box because I'm going to overwrite the code and I get a blank project. Now, the other project is so similar or part 2 is so similar to part 1 that I probably should just start with the same code. So I'm going to open the other one here. I'm going to select all of this, copy it, go into the next program, and just delete everything that's there and paste this in. Now, I've got to make changes though to make this work. So the first thing I'm going to do is up here at the top in the comment, I'm going to say that this was to be, and then this was the sphere volume, just as a note to myself. The other thing I have to change to even make this code run is down here it says public class lab 1 part 1. This is the name of the class, but if you look at the name of the file has name lab 2 part 2. The name of the file and the name of the class must be the same. So if I highlight over it, hover over it, you'll see two quick fixes. Either rename the file, it says, or rename the type. I'm going to rename the type. I can click the button. I'll just do it manually. I'll just change the 1 to a 2. And hopefully that fixes it. I don't know what it's complaining about now. Oh, also I named somehow I don't know how I did this, but I just realized that in my previous program that I just did, even though I was trying to call it lab 2 part 1, I called it lab 1 part 1. So I named it stupidly. So sorry about that. I just typoed that. Um, so I also have to change this one to a 2 to make it actually match. I'll save it. So yeah, sorry about that. So I screwed up the name of the other one as well. Um, lab 2 part 2, lab 2 part 2. Just make them the same and your code will run. Now the problem with this though is that if I run it, it's still the same program as before, right? Enter the radius 3, and it's still talking about circles. So in order to change this to be volume, I would have to come over here and look at the second problem, and it says volume of a sphere. And if we follow the directions here, it says ask the user to input the radius and read it as double. So actually, this part's fine, right? Reading the radius is the same. After you read the radius, it says calculate the volume. So we're calculating a volume, not an area. So I should go up here, and first of all, I don't have an area anymore. I have a volume. So I'll label the variable as volume. And then down here it says calculate area, but of course it's volume. And that means on the left-hand side, this should say volume. And now this formula is wrong. So I could edit it, but I'll just start over. Calculate the volume. Let's look at the formula. So the formula is 4/3 pi r cubed, right? That's the formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. So the first thing you would often type, I've seen people do this, 4/3, and then they do math.pi because they remember that. and then they do radius. Um, but there's a lot of problems with this. So let me just put radius times radius times a third radius, right? Because it's cubed this time. So cube means 3. And this is sort of what we need, but not quite. So the first thing is that anything multiplied needs the multiplication, which is the asterisk. So between the pi and the radius, we need an asterisk. So we have radius times radius times radius times math.pi. We also need a times here. All right. And so now this appears to be correct. It is not. It's not correct yet. So let me just say it's wrong here if you're looking at it. And then we print the results. So the results are basically the same. We could say for a circle, it's not a circle, it's a sphere with radius, radius. The area is blah, blah, blah. Well, we're doing a volume. So the volume is volume. So that didn't take a lot of changes, but it took some changes. Now, the problem we'll have, let me click back over here, is this is just a sample. We can use this sample to see if we're correct. Enter the radius of the sphere 5.0. Let's do that. I'm going to put in 5 or 5.0. And it says the volume is 392. This says the volume is 523.6. Well, 523 is not what we got. We got 392. So there's a mistake in our code, and the mistake is on the 4/3. So if you're dealing with doubles, make sure you type your numbers in with decimal points, because if you don't, Java thinks you want integer arithmetic. And so let me just type somewhere so I can type a little note. So you just have to keep in mind that in Java, 4.0 over 3.0, that is 1.333333, which is correct. In Java, 4 over 3 is 1. That's because when you type in 4 over 3 as integers, there is no fraction. So it does the calculation like 1.333, but it just throws away the 0.33 and it just leaves you with a 1. And so you have to be careful not to type in 4 over 3 that way. You'll get it wrong. So this is typed wrong. It needs to be 4.0 over 3.0. That's your 4/3. And making that change, now when I type 5.0, I will get 523, which is the correct answer. So it's a little bit sneaky. All right, but this code is now done. So we should screenshot it as well. So on my computer, it's Shift Command 4. Yeah, and then I can drag a box around it and screenshot it that way. And then I need to turn them in. So going back over here, what do I have to do? Well, I can make this a little bit smaller. We have a picture of a watch. I can open Eclipse. I can make that a little smaller. I can scroll down here. I guess I have Lab 2 Part 2, and also, unfortunately, my project was Lab 2 Part 1, but I named this Lab 1 Part 1 by being dumb. Drag that over. Drag Lab 2 Part 2 over. And as it says here, you need a screenshot showing the program worked. So I need to find my screenshots, which I think are on my desktop. So I go desktop, and I see screenshots here. So, I could select them. Maybe I could rename it. That'd be helpful. So Lab 2 Part 2. I know that that's Part 2 because it's the one I did second. I can see the times. The other one, Lab 2 Part 1. And I can just drag these over as well. So drag my screenshots. If you don't name your screenshots, that's okay. I'll just look at them and be able to see. But you could also help me out and name them nicely. So I would need these four files submitted, although this one has a bad name. But again, if it's the right stuff, I'm not going to throw a fit about that. Okay, so submit. And anyway, that is lab two. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Probably in the next video, I'll be using Eclipse, but also I'm going to try to find a replacement to Replit because some people have tried Replit, and Replit.com now is a stupid AI site. So you can only make programs by typing stuff in a text box here, which is unfortunate. So there's a couple others that I want to try, and I'll get them into the next video for you guys. Also, there should be a separate video that you will have seen, or I will make you aware of, that suggests an online place to do your code if you need it. All right. Anyway, I will say that we're gonna be done here. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this recording. Talk to you guys later.